Hey guys, okay, sorry about that. Tech issues over here big time. So we're starting over. Welcome to the Holiday Hangover Sensitivity Repair Camp, day 2. Let's all say a little prayer that my Wi-Fi holds up because it cut out before and yesterday, even though it says I have full signal. So hopefully this one will go through. Anyways, what I was just saying is that if you are new to me, my name is Amber Rochelle. I am an intuitive life coach who works with highly sensitive women and a sensitivity expert. I am known as the sensitive badass, and that is because I deeply, deeply believe that despite what we're often told as sensitive women, sensitivity is not a weakness. It's actually a very profound strength. And I'm going to go into that a little bit on our broadcast today. I was also mentioning before my Wi-Fi cut out that if you missed the workshop from yesterday, it's still up on my Facebook page, so you can go ahead and just scroll through and watch that. There's actually a part 1 and a part 2, also due to Wi-Fi. And if you sign up on the link, you will get an email that has all the replays on it after tomorrow's workshop. So once I go through all 3 days, I'll be sending out an email that has all the replays. So you can come back and watch if you aren't able to be here live or if you have to hop off. Don't worry, you will not miss anything. And also feel free to put questions in the comment box. I love taking your questions. I love supporting you guys. So if you're watching the replay and you have a question, go ahead and just tag me in the comments and I will come back and jump on and answer your question and support you. So let's talk about today and what we're going to go into today. Let me pull up my outline. So today we are really going to be diving into how you can start to recharge from the holidays. So yesterday we talked a lot about why it's hard for us who are sensitive around the holidays. And today we're going to get into some more practical tools about how you can come back from that and recharge. We are going to cover how to reevaluate your self-care through a new lens, a lens of understanding your sensitivity better, and a more compassionate lens, so that you can start to set up a self-care routine that really supports your sensitive nature because you have very unique needs. We are going to talk about how you can process 2017 so that you can leave behind the things that were painful and be grateful for the blessings and set really soulful, intentional goals for moving into the new year. We're also going to talk about how you can start to let yourself dream and connect to your wants. And there's a very specific reason for why those of us who are sensitive really struggle with knowing what it is that we want and need. And I'm going to dive into that as well. And then as a bonus, I am going to talk about retraining your brain so that you can start to look for the brighter side of things, in particular your sensitivity, because the more like what you focus on expands, right? So the more that you think about how being sensitive sucks or how it feels like a curse or how it's difficult when you're picking up other people's energy, the more that you are going to experience those sorts of things. But when you can start to really look at the bright side and look for the things that are wonderful about it, you're going to start to experience more of those things. So that's a little bit of what we're going to go into today. So let me just make sure I am checking on comments here. Okay, cool. So let's start with recharging from the holidays, right? So if you, like so many other women and men as well, you guys, I want to just preface this by saying I work specifically with women. So I talk, when I'm talking to you guys, I say, you know, she and woman, but this applies to men as well. Absolutely. So for anybody who is struggling with bouncing back after the holidays, anybody who is, you know, really feeling depleted and exhausted and anxious, the first thing is you really want to carve out some space for your nervous system to be able to repair itself. And I know it's hard because we're still in the holiday season, so we're moving into the new year, right? So not everybody can take a week off, right? Not everybody can take even an entire day off. So that's okay. I mean, of course, it's amazing if you can do that. But even if it's just an hour a day, even if it's just 10 minutes a day of sitting in silence with yourself, by yourself, And really just like feeling into your body, listening to your body, listening to yourself, connecting in and slowing down your breath and really paying attention to where you feel anxiety in your body, really paying attention to where you feel the exhaustion and the overwhelm. And as you breathe in, you know, this is almost a meditative practice. You breathe in and feel yourself breathing in peace and calm, and breathing out anxiety and tension, right? And 5 minutes a day, you guys, 5 to 10 minutes a day of doing that is going to make wonders of difference in your life, because our nervous system goes into overdrive. It really does. It kicks into overdrive. And when it gets there, it's very hard for it to get back out of overdrive unless we give ourselves that very intentional space to breathe calm back into our body and back into our nervous system. So that's one thing that will help you to start feeling better and help to start soothe and calm your frazzled nervous system. Another thing that's really helpful is taking baths. For a lot of people, water is like so healing for those of us who are sensitives. And, you know, put some Epsom salts in there, put some essential oils in there. Anything, again, that is going to bring calm and peace and serenity to you. So another thing that can be really helpful to bounce back and kind of recharge from the holiday season is to journal. And I really, really, really love journaling as a tool, and I recommend it all of the time to people, because when you're journaling, you're having a conversation with yourself, right? You're working out, you're sorting through what's going on with you. And not only that, but you are able to process things and release things, right? We're so busy, and especially during the holiday season, we're so busy and we're rushing around and we have so much to do and so much to think about that it's very seldom that we connect in what's going on with me right now. How am I feeling? What do I need right now in this moment, right? So journaling is a really powerful tool for being able to stop, drop, and pay attention to yourself and pay attention to what's going on with you. And for those of you, like most sensitives, that struggle with picking up on the energy of others, this is going to be a big, big thing that's going to really help you with that. Because when we are writing and having a conversation with ourselves and getting things out, we're releasing the energies that we picked up during the day. And we're also able to start to pinpoint and identify, oh, why do I feel anxious? Oh, it's because I was around so-and-so at the office today, right? It's just really a way for us to start to notice and become more aware of the energies that we're picking up, because awareness is your best friend. So the more that you're aware of the energies that you're picking up, the more that you're going to be able to identify them and then release them. It's when we're not aware and we go through our whole day not connecting to ourselves that we take in all of this crap and energy from everybody around us, and we carry it with us all day. And by the time we get home at night, we don't know what's what or what came from where. Right? It's just this tangled mess of feelings and, you know, overwhelm and anxiety. But when you practice awareness throughout the day and have a consistent routine of checking in with yourself, it's really going to help you to start to have more control over the energies that you're picking up. Or rather, especially in the beginning, noticing that you picked them up and then being able to release them so that you don't end up with that tangled mess of emotion at the end of the day, right? So these are just very simple tools that can start to help you after the holidays. Making time for yourself, making time to soothe your nervous system, having a conversation with yourself, writing in your journal, right? This is simple stuff, simple but not easy. That's the caveat, right? It's simple in the sense that they're, you know, kind of bite-sized chunks of tools that you can use, but not easy in the sense that it's very hard for us to carve out that time for ourselves often. So you have to remind yourself, if you want to feel better, you're going to have to do something different, right? Otherwise, you're going to carry this holiday hangover with you into the new year. And we don't want that. We don't want to start the new year still feeling like shit about the holidays, right? So you got to do something to start releasing all of the, you know, pain and frustration and overwhelm and exhaustion and anxiety that you picked up. And then at the same time, to soothe the part of yourself that has gotten so worn out and frazzled, right? Now, moving into the new year, how can you set yourself up for success as a sensitive person? So the biggest thing, you guys, the biggest thing is self-care. Okay. And when I say self-care, so I'm going to give you the differentiation here. So a lot of times we think about self-care and we think, oh, going to get a manicure or going to get a massage or, taking a bath. Those things are all great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things. Those are awesome, right? But that is often reactive self-care. So when something happens or we're having a really bad week, we're like, oh, I'm going to treat myself to a manicure, right? Nothing wrong with that in and of itself. But what we really need as sensitive women is proactive self-care. And you guys have, hi, Jared, thanks for coming back after my little Wi-Fi snafu. So proactive self-care is doing your self-care even when you feel great, even when you feel good, right? Because what usually happens is that we only do self-care when we're feeling like shit. And then as soon as we start to feel better, we're like, oh, I don't need that anymore. Or we get busy or we forget, right? Because we're not in our pain point. So we're no longer doing something to, make ourselves feel better. But when you're sensitive, things are so hard and we have to carry so much with us, right? So much feeling and so much information processing that we really need to create a solid, stable connection to ourselves and connection to a sense of centeredness and calm and groundedness. And the only way to do that is to have a consistent self-care routine, to do it even when you're feeling good, to do it even when things are great. You don't need it, right? Because what it's doing is it's almost like, I like to think of it, it's like you're storing up nuts for the winter, like a squirrel, right? So that when the shit does hit the fan, you're not knocked off your center so easily because you're calm and you're grounded. And when you do these practices every single day, you can carry that with you throughout your day and your week and your life, right? So what do I mean when I say a consistent self-care routine? Now, here's the thing. It can look different for everybody. Hi, Hannah. It can look different for everybody, right? So it's not so much about what you do, it's that you do it. And the most important thing about the self-care routine is spending time with yourself by yourself. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I want to reiterate because it's so important. When we're sensitive, we are taking in so much information from the world around us, right? So much information from the world around us. The noise, everything that we see, everything that we're processing, all of the feelings that we're picking up from everybody else. We are extra sensing beings, right? So what can happen is that it's very, very hard to hear the voice of our soul, to hear the voice of our inner guide. Because there's the noise of the world, there's everybody else's feelings, then there's the noise of our inner critic, which is a loud little shit, right? Like always yapping at you and like, oh, you didn't do that right, or you shouldn't have said that, or you upset this person, or whatever, right? That's a super loud voice. And underneath it all is a very soft, quiet voice. And that is the voice of your truth, the truth of who you really are. And that is the voice that you want to connect with. So you have to build a relationship with that voice so that you start to be able to hear it in the midst of all of the rest of the noise that is going on around you. And the only way to do that is to be with yourself, right? To really, really be with yourself and nurture your relationship with yourself the way you would nurture any other relationship that you have. And so what you do during that time isn't as important as it is that you are, the main things are quiet and by yourself, right? So if you want to take a walk or go on a hike or be in nature, that's great. Nature's so healing for us sensitives. If you want to journal, that's awesome. Journaling is such a great way to connect with your inner voice and to connect with yourself. If you want to take a bath, if you want to light candles, if you want to, pull cards for yourself, if you want to meditate, all of these things are wonderful. Essential oils are also really powerful for us sensitives because if you use a particular essential oil or a handful of them, whichever are your favorites, and I can post some links to my favorites after this, your body will start to associate that scent with that feeling of calm that you're creating in these pockets of time that you're spending with yourself. And so then what I like to do is I'll take my favorite essential oil and mix it with water and put it in a little spray bottle. And I just carry that in my purse. So if I'm like out, for example, when I was Christmas shopping, right? And I did most of it online because like all of you, I hate malls. But sometimes we do have to venture out into that situation. So I will just pull it out and spritz it because your mind associates that scent, right? And so it gives you this immediate reminder of like that feeling of calm and can really help you to get through a stressful situation. But really, The thing here is that we have to give ourselves this time to go within and to be quiet and to listen to ourselves, because we are so bombarded with information, and we are also very easily talked out of our own truth. And the reason for that, I put up a post about this earlier today, is because when we grow up sensitive, so often we're given the messages that our feelings are incorrect, right? That we can't trust what we're feeling, because people tell us that, oh, why are you overreacting? Or why are you so dramatic? Or, you're making a big deal out of nothing, right? Like, these are the messages that we get. And as children in particular, what often happens is that we go, oh, there must be something wrong with me. Like, I must not be able to trust what I'm feeling. I must not be able to trust my own experience of the world, because everybody else is reflecting back to me that it's, hi, Miriam, definitely not just you, honey. It is, this is a very universal experience for sensitives, because unfortunately, we live in a society that does not support our sensitivity, that mostly doesn't understand it, right? And so we become very disconnected often from ourselves at a very young age, because we turn off, or attempt to turn off, hi, Lisa, we attempt to turn off our own sense of things, our own feelings, and we look outward for information, right? We look outward for validation. We look outward for proof that we're worthy, that we're okay, that we're enough, that we're doing the right thing. We look to people's opinions and people's feelings that we can feel, right? And what people are saying to us and how people behave around us as our entire barometer for the world. And when you do this for years and years and years, you can become very disconnected from the truth of who you are, very disconnected from your inner guide, from your own inner compass, which is the only one that we should trust, honestly. Like, our inner compass will not steer us wrong, you guys. We've just been told that it will. We've been criticized and ostracized and gaslighted for the truth of our experience of the world. And we have to now, as, adult sensitive women, do something about that. So you need to have to come back home to yourself, right? Start to trust your own experience of things again. And the way that you do that is by spending time with yourself and listening to yourself and connecting within and asking yourself questions and paying attention to your sensations, right? One tool that I really like to offer to people that's very helpful in the beginning when you're trying to connect back to your truth is, I call it taking your emotional pulse. And I actually literally got a tattoo on my wrist to remind myself to do this many years ago when I was first doing this work myself. And so basically what it is I recommend setting an alarm on your phone for 2 to 3 times a day. And it can just say, take your emotional pulse. And no matter what you're doing, if you can, obviously, within reason, if you're at work, go into an empty office or go into the bathroom. Just go somewhere where you can be alone and just like stop everything, right? Because we're so go, go, go. We're always trying to prove ourselves as sensitives because we feel like we are making up for this inherent flaw that we believe that we have. So just stop and put your hand on your heart, like, cheesy, whatever, I don't care. Like, it's connect within, right? Stop, close your eyes, breathe, and ask yourself what you're feeling. What are you feeling in your body? What are you feeling in your heart? What are you feeling emotionally? What's been going on around you that day? What energies do you think you've been picking up? What do you really need right now? And the point of this practice is that it's building up a muscle of you being able to more consistently connect with yourself and connect with what you're experiencing, trust what you're experiencing, and then follow that with, what do I need, right? This is how we start to connect into what our needs are, because we're so outward focused most of the time, and we want so badly to help people and to be there for people. And because we can feel the feelings of others so deeply, we often get very distracted by helping others. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, right? In and of itself, that's a beautiful part of our nature, is that, we want to help so bad. But where it gets messy is when we leave ourselves in the dust, right? And when you can step into your true, true, true power as a sensitive woman, because we are really fucking powerful, that is when you know and you realize and you understand and you spend time with yourself and you commit to, you know, coming back home to yourself and coming back home to your truth. And you realize that taking care of you is going to make you so much more effective and powerful in this world and make you such a more powerful healer, helper, friend, partner, lover, whatever. Right? When we take care of ourselves as sensitive women, we can become unstoppable. And I know that it can sound crazy coming from a place of, you know, I mean, I know for me personally anyways, like I felt like a victim my whole life. You know, I really did, because it felt like everybody's feelings were just shouting at me all the time. And the world was so overwhelming and nobody understood me. You know, even my best friends thought I was kind of weird because, and it's not that they were mean, it's just that they had no idea what it felt like to be me, right? They had no idea what it felt like to experience the world being this deep, deep feeling person. And so it can be very isolating and it can be frustrating and it can be scary. And, you know, this is why a lot of people say being sensitive is a curse. And I used to think that too for a very long time. I wanted so badly to toughen up. I wanted to fit in so bad. All I wanted was for people to understand me, right? And it took until I was an adult for me to learn that I had to understand me first. I had to be there for me first. I had to show up for me first, right? And that changed everything. It really, truly did. And I'm not going to say that it's perfect and that everything's easy for me now. No, I still get overwhelmed in crowds. I still, you know, struggle with picking up other people's feelings, but I have an amazing tool belt now of things that when those things happen, I know what to do. And most importantly, I know how to come back to my truth, right? I don't doubt my own truth anymore. Nobody gets to talk me out of my feelings, and nobody should talk you out of yours either. Whatever you are feeling is completely 100% valid. What you do about it, obviously, is then, you know, up to you. But as my friend Jedi mentioned before, but your feelings are valid. You can trust them. You know, start working with that. Start when you find yourself. Another good way to sort of tune in and have built some awareness around this is when you find yourself saying things to yourself like, oh my God, I overreacted. I shouldn't have. Yeah, Miriam, that's awesome. It makes such a difference. But yeah, when you find yourself talking to yourself in that way of like, oh, I totally overreacted. Oh my God, like, you know, I shouldn't have made such a big deal out of that, blah, 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 blah. These things that we say to ourselves, right? Just start paying attention to the things you're telling yourself about your feelings. And when you catch yourself saying something like that to yourself, be like, wait a minute, why? Right? Like, why? Ask yourself the questions. You have to start calling bullshit on it. Like, why should I not trust what I felt? Why do I think my feelings are invalid? Right? Or who told me that when I was younger? Or who told me that yesterday? Right? Who made me think that I can't trust what I feel and sense in this world? And really start asking questions about it, because that's going to help you to be like, wait a minute, this doesn't really make sense, right? So I went off on a little tangent there. Sorry, guys, I do that. But it's really important. This is a really, really important thing. And it's going to make a huge difference for you in this new year if you, like Miriam, continue to work on really trusting your own feelings. The awareness, you know, honoring your feelings, connecting to yourself, spending time with yourself. These are really, really big tools. It's not going to change everything overnight, right? Of course it's not. But that's the thing, is that the work that really makes profound difference is not a quick fix. It's not an overnight fix, right? It's a practice. And I said this yesterday, but yeah, it's a practice. We are not looking for something that we do once and then it fixes everything, because that's just not how life works. That's not the truth, right? This is building muscles, retraining our brain, really implementing new practices that are going to support us as sensitive women in the new year, that are going to help to build this foundation, right? You know, I use this metaphor sometimes of like a tree in a windstorm. So if you have a tree that's really healthy and really strong and has really powerful roots, in the windstorm, it'll get knocked around a little bit, might lose a branch or two, right? But it's going to be just fine. But if you have a tree whose roots are rotten and, you know, that tree is dying, it could get completely blown over in that windstorm, right? So all of these things that I'm teaching you guys in this holiday repair camp is about building strong roots. We really, really need that. What the one thing that sensitive women need the most, and that is the hardest for us, is staying grounded. And these are all tools that are going to help you to stay more grounded, that are going to help you to build those solid roots so that you don't get knocked around by the winds of people's feelings and criticisms and ideas about, what you should or shouldn't be feeling, right? This is about building a really solid foundation and a really solid connection to yourself. And that is going to carry you through anything. It really is. Okay, let me make sure that I am staying on track, which I'm not very good at, but that's okay. I get really passionate about what I'm saying. Okay, let's talk about processing the past year, right? So part of the reason why a lot of people go into the new year and they set resolutions, right? And we all know how this goes, right? If you're at my local gym becomes completely slammed in January, right? Like I can barely get on a bike or an elliptical. And then by the end of January, it's back to normal, and the reason for this is that most people go into the new year not really having evaluated or processed what they experienced in the year before. And then they set resolutions and their heart's in the right place, right? They're wanting to make positive changes that are going to support them. But typically when people set resolutions, they say like, oh, it's an unrealistic thing, right? And they're looking for that quick fix that we were talking about. So, I want to lose 20 pounds in a month or whatever it is. But when they don't see progress overnight, they get mad and they quit. They say, oh, I suck. This isn't working, right? And so really processing the year before is going to help to set you up for success in the new year. And the reason for this is twofold. So one is that we don't want to go into the new year carrying a bunch of baggage from the year before, right? We want to be able to really kind of like let ourselves feel any feelings that still need to be felt from the year before. Honor those feelings, process them, give them space and time to breathe so that we can walk into the new year not being weighed down by these things that we're still carrying around from the previous year, right? Also, when we take time to process the previous year, it gives us an opportunity to really look at what went well, what we're proud of, what we're grateful for, and also what are the things that you don't want to carry into the new year with you. And by that, I mean limiting beliefs, criticisms of yourself, habits that don't support you, right? Those sorts of things. If we don't take time to evaluate, we just go rushing into the new year and these things come dragging right behind us, right? It's like tin cans tied to a car. It's like they're just like following us around, weighing us down and making a bunch of noise. So what do I mean by taking time to process? I mean getting out your journal, literally sitting down and thinking about everything that happened in the year before, thinking about what you're grateful for, writing it down. Write down what you're proud of. Write down the accomplishments that you had. And when I say that, I don't mean like, it can be something big. It could be maybe you got a huge promotion at work, or maybe you graduated from grad school or something. But also maybe it's like Miriam was saying, maybe it's you're connecting to your feelings more, right? Like don't limit yourself when you're looking for things that you're proud of to just things that you think are like big things that other people would think are something to be proud of. Yeah. We all do, girl. She was just saying she must have a billion old tin cans. Yeah, we all do. Nobody's without shit. Nobody's without baggage. We're all humans, there's varying degrees, but we all have stuff. And that's why it's important to take time to look at that stuff and look at it, like I said yesterday, with curiosity and not judgment. We don't want to look at our quote unquote baggage or tin cans or whatever you want to see it as and be like, ew, oh my God, I can't believe I have all this crap, right? No, that's not supportive. That's not going to help you. But look at it and be like, oh my God, I've been carrying around a lot of crap, right? See the difference there? Because we want to be bringing in as much compassion for ourselves as possible. This isn't about beating ourselves up. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just a person doing the best that you can with what you've got, right? And so the more that we can be kind to ourselves, the more that we're going to be successful. And that's why it's really important when we're looking at the year before to look at the things that we're proud of and celebrate that and celebrate the small wins. Because part of the problem with resolutions, like I was saying before, is that we make this lofty goal for ourselves. And when we don't get there overnight, we get pissed off. But it's not about always the end goal. It's about the journey, right? And if you don't celebrate the small wins along the way, you're not going to stay motivated to get to the finish line. So it's really important for us to look back and celebrate ourselves and celebrate what we've been blessed with and what we're grateful for, right? And then also to be like, okay, what didn't go so well last year? What did I really struggle with? What was really hard for me? What do I wish had been different? And again, using compassion here, not judgment, right? Not like, oh my God, I did this and that and this happened to me. And it's hard not to get into that mindset. But remember, what would you tell a friend, right? If they were processing the things from the previous year, you'd probably be like, babe, it's something you need to learn from and grow from, right? And just because this happened to you last year doesn't mean it's going to happen to you next year. So, hi, Ty. So really bringing in that compassion as much as possible. And then you can look at this stuff and be like, okay, so what do I really want in the new year? How do I want to feel in the new year? How do I want to be in the new year? Not just like, oh, I really want to, and again, not that there's anything wrong with wanting to lose weight. That's a fine, wonderful goal. But when we start with how we want to feel and how we want to be and what our values are, and then build our goals from there, they're going to be much more aligned. And ask yourself when you're setting goals for the new year, is this coming from a place of what I think I should be doing and who I think I'm supposed to be being, or who I really am and what I really want and what's really important to me, right? Because oftentimes we're setting goals that we may not even really want. And that's why it's hard for us to reach them, because we're not celebrating the small milestones along the way. And we're also, setting these goals from somebody else's viewpoint, right? It might not even be something that's really important to you, but you just feel like you're supposed to do it, right? So let yourself start to dream. This is hard for us as sensitive women because we are naturally so outward focused, because we are naturally so tuned in to everybody else around us. It can be hard in the beginning. It gets a lot easier, but it can be hard in the beginning to connect to what you want and to let yourself dream, right? And some things that are really helpful for this is pay attention when you're going through your day to when you're most happy, to when you're feeling the best, to when you feel most aligned, to when you feel most lit up. Pay attention to those times and then note what's going on around you, right? And another good thing is to look back at when you were a kid. What did you love to do when you were a kid? What lit you up, right? Who were you before the world told you who you were supposed to be? That is a really good way to connect in, because a lot of times the things that we loved as children grow to be our passions as adults. It's just that we've lost that connection to it, right? So really spend time with yourself and spend time with these goals. And then once you set them, break them down into smaller chunks, so that it's not so overwhelming, so that you don't get knocked off your focus so easily when you don't see immediate change, right? Because oftentimes change is subtle and it comes slowly over time. And a lot of the tools that I'm teaching you guys, it's the same thing. It's going to be small, subtle changes, but you're going to be a year from now, look back and be like, holy shit, I didn't even realize how much I've changed, right? So we have to celebrate the small wins along the way. And breaking big goals down into smaller, more manageable chunks is going to help you do that. Because then you can be like, oh, I got to that point. Okay, that's motivating, right? That's motivating because you're like, oh, I reached that mini goal. That gives you the motivation and the satisfaction to push to reach the next mini goal. So these are just things that make it a lot more, it's really just setting yourself up for success in the new year, setting yourself up for going into the new year, feeling refreshed, feeling like you've really evaluated, what was going on in your life the year before, where you're at, who you are, what you want. And this stuff can change too. And that's totally okay. Nothing is set in stone. The important thing here is just that you're doing the work of connecting within. We're not, this is progress, not perfection. We're not looking for, you're not setting a, super rigid roadmap for the year ahead. You're just giving yourself some guideposts and paying attention to what's going on in here, because that's how you live a more aligned and authentic life, an intentional life, right? So instead of just what I used to think about myself is that I was literally just like sleepwalking through life. And I just was reacting to everything that happened around me, right? Reacting to everybody else's feelings, reacting to everybody else's opinions, and just kind of letting life happen to me. It felt like everything was kind of just like flying at me, right? Whereas now I really take the reins of my life because I trust myself now, because I trust my own perception of things, and I'm able to intentionally design my life, right? This doesn't mean there isn't surprises. That doesn't mean there isn't bumps in the road, but I'm taking charge of my life. I'm no longer just reacting to everything around me. I'm proactively, designing and creating a life that really supports my sensitivity, and a life that supports me, and a life that I love. And this is possible for all of you guys. Not easy, but possible. And it gets easier. That's the thing. It's, it's like I said before, it's like building muscles, right? In the beginning, when you go to lift a 10-pound weight, you're like, oh my God, I can't even pick this thing up. This is embarrassing, right? And then, a month later it gets easier, and a month later it gets easier. And then your bicep is growing, and then you move up to a 20-pound barbell. It's the same thing. It gets easier over time. You just have to get through that hump of starting, which is really retraining your brain. Which, speaking of, I promised to tell you guys about training your brain to look for the more positive things. So you can do this with anything, really. You can just kind of do this in general if you just want to focus on the positive or the negative in general. But I like to teach it, as I do most things, through the lens of being sensitive, right? So if you're, it depends on where you're at in your journey, but if you're still really struggling with seeing the value in your sensitivity and seeing the bright side of your sensitivity, here are some tools that can help. So one thing is to really start looking for how it does serve you. Start looking for the ways that you can be proud of your sensitive nature. And in the beginning, this might be really, really difficult for you. It might not. Some people really struggle, some don't. It doesn't matter either way. But if you can, daily, okay, if daily is too hard, then do this every other day. But the point here is consistency, right? So try this for a month. Just try it for 1 month of either every day or every other day, writing down at the end of your day, like looking back at your day and being like, okay, in what ways did my sensitivity show up for me? In what ways did it make a positive impact on other people? And again, like I said before, this doesn't have to be some big, big thing. It can be, you noticed that somebody was, struggling at work, and you went over to help them and it completely made their day, or something. Like, nothing is too small. The point here is to start looking for the positive and noticing. Again, like, awareness is so, so important and so huge. Noticing when you're focusing on the negative, right? Because yes, there's a lot of struggles that come with being sensitive. I'm not gonna lie. There's a reason why, most of what I teach is about maximizing the benefits and minimizing the challenges, because there are a lot of challenges, but there's even more benefits. There's even more gifts to it. Like, sensitive people are super creative. We actually make really great leaders. We're often healers or therapists or coaches or doctors or nurses, writers, actors, visionaries. Really people who can see and feel into what's going on in the world and what needs to change in the world. And we are a powerful, powerful force, right? It's just that for so long, for so many of us, we've just been stuck in like, oh my God, this sucks, because it can be hard, but it's only hard. Well, no, it's not. It's harder when you haven't learned how to work with it instead of working against it. Because if we fight our true nature, right, it's only going to rebel against us. And so the work here is not about toughening up. The work here is not about fitting in. It's not about having a thicker skin. It's about learning to love the thin skin that you're in. It's about understanding your sensitivity and going against the grain, and creating a life that works for you instead of trying to fit into a world that honestly wasn't really made for you. That's why so many of us feel like aliens here, right? Because we are very different. Our brains are wired differently, and it's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing, because we have such a different and, deep perspective on things. We have so much to offer to the world. So I really want you to start looking for that. And the more that you look for it, the more it's going to show up for you, right? And then notice when you are beating yourself up for things, when you're saying things to yourself like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. I totally overreacted. Notice that. and be like, wait a minute, I want you to take a step back from it and ask yourself, is that the truth? Is that the truth? Is that what you would tell a friend in that same situation? Is it nice to yourself to say that? You know, why are you talking to yourself that way, right? And these are just questions to really start pulling yourself out of probably a lifetime long habit of berating yourself for just being who you are, right? And so when we can start to take a step back from it, become aware of it, and then take a step back from it and be like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? What's going on here? And what do I want, right? Do I want to keep letting people talk me out of my truth? Or do I want to start spending the time connecting within so that I can really discover like who I really am and what I really want and what, you know, and trust myself and trust my own sense of the world. And that is really where the work comes in. But it is doable, you guys, and it changes everything. I'm just checking my outline here. Yeah, I mean, this work is really, really powerful. And, you know, I've been doing it for a long, long, long time. I started, well, I was always a self-help junkie. I was the kid who was like 10 years old at the beach with my parents reading like a psych book. So this has been a lifelong journey for me. But it's because I came from a really chaotic and traumatic background. I had a lot of trauma in my childhood, and I think I was a natural born seeker. And, you know, again, most of us sensitives are, we aren't satisfied with surface level, right? We want to go deeper. We always want to go deeper. And a lot of us do get traumatized as well. And there's varying degrees of trauma, but everybody's trauma is valid. Everybody's feelings are valid, right? But I was very traumatized as a child. And so it led me to seek, and it led me to take a ton of coaching programs and go through a ton of therapy and do so much deep work on myself. And I'm so grateful that I did that, because that's what's brought me to where I am today. And that's what allows me to support you guys in this work and to take things that took me 10 years to learn and to help you to really, really integrate and understand those things in a much shorter amount of time. And so this is why I created my Sensitive Badass 6-month coaching mentorship. I mentioned it briefly on the call yesterday. I'm just going to mention it briefly again today. Like I said, I don't even have a sales page up yet, which is so ridiculous, but I couldn't wait to tell you guys about it. I'm sure you'll be hearing me talk about it all month. This is going to be a really, really, really fucking powerful container for the start of the year. So we're going to start on February 1st. I'm only taking 10 women for this program. And that's purposeful because I'm creating a very sacred container of space where you're not only going to have my one-on-one support, but you are going to have the support of these other women that are around you. So we are going to create this amazing, really loving, supportive community where I'm going to be teaching you guys so many tools about all of the things that I've been talking about today, but on a much, much deeper level, really walking you back home to yourself, walking you back home to your truth, helping you get that really solid, centered, grounded space in you so that you have deep, deep, strong roots. That is what this program is about. And it is going to be insanely powerful. I literally get the chills thinking about it. I feel like I've been working on this all year, and it is my baby, and I would be so honored to have any of you come and join me for this program. So it's 6 months long, and the reason that it is 6 months long is because this work, like I mentioned earlier, there's no quick fix, right? When you are practicing coming back home to yourself, finding your truth, standing in your power, and really learning how to be what I call a sensitive badass, it takes time, right? But this 6-month investment of time and investment in this program is going to set you up with a lifetime of tools and a lifetime of feeling strong and safe and powerful as a sensitive woman in this world. And that is going to allow you to go out and find your purpose, right? Go out and find your purpose and really do what you're meant to do in this world, because you are so needed. Sensitive women are so powerful when they learn how to stand in their truth. And that is what I am offering to you in this program. So it is 6 months because it takes time to learn and integrate and process and practice this stuff. There will be 10 of us. You will get 3 one-on-one sessions with me a month. So those are hour-long sessions. And then we will have a group call at the end of the month where we all come together and we talk about what's going on with us, and we support each other through this journey that we're going on together. There's also a shit ton of bonuses because I love to spoil you guys. So for the women that join in on this program with me, you will be enrolled in my Sensitive Academy, which is coming out in February, where I will teach a class each month on a different topic pertaining to being sensitive. So we've got perfectionism, we've got boundaries, we've got being in a relationship and how do you stand up for your sensitivity in a relationship, all sorts of amazing topics. So you will get automatically enrolled in that and have access to those classes once a month. I'm also creating a very amazing and supportive resource portal that you will have access to that has meditations and videos and worksheets and journal prompts and all sorts of stuff to make sure that you are fully supported during this 6-month transformational journey. You will also get my Sensitive Badass digital course, which has not yet been released. It's coming out soon, brand new. And you will get a Sensitive Badass t-shirt and so much more. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about this a lot in the coming month, but I just wanted to, announce it here and let you guys know that this is an opportunity and an option for you if you were looking for more concentrated, potent support in the new year. It's going to be a really, really amazing, powerful, transformational journey. So I'd love to have you join me. I will put a link in the comments below where you can set up a 30-minute call with me, a complimentary 30-minute call, so that we can talk about if this program is a good fit for you. We can talk about what's coming up for you around your sensitivity, what your goals are for the new year, and see if this is the right thing for you. So I would love to chat with you guys. Take me up on that. And yeah, I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. This replay will be available for you. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow. I love you all. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, Hannah. You guys are fantastic. And I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.